Hello, everybody. This is Eric Virathaler of Virathaler Studios back again for the next episode of Sit Down by the Fire. I'm here with my co-host, Ty from Junebug Films, and we're here with our next special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Matt Wall. I do things. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you so much for asking.
Well, that's great because I do things too.
I know.
I do a lot of things too. Like, I tie my shoes, I brush my teeth.
There you go. You got to start with those two things.
I know.
Exactly.
And Eric, you also wipe your own ass.
That I do.
Yes.
For now.
For now.
Well, wait till he's in the nursing home, then he can have the attractive nurses do it. Boy, this is getting to a great start, and we're not even a minute in.
Well, I definitely wouldn't say no to that.
Exactly.
I apologize.
It's all good.
So why don't you tell, just a little bit about what you do besides things?
Okay. I was in a horror punk band way back when. And in doing that, like we're talking like 90s era, early 2000s, started putting out records and going on tour, putting stuff out, doing things for other bands, doing music videos for other bands, and then doing through comp albums and all this other stuff. The distribution we had was through a film company. The film company wanted to start synergizing and cross-promoting between the bands on the label music side and the films and the film side. So actors would come back and forth, and like music would do soundtracks and all this other shit. And then it got to the point where I was just directing movies for them. And that lasted for probably about, I don't know, 7 or 8 years of me just like directing features. And then from there, I just started writing books because books don't have a budget and I could do anything I want. And that was amazing for me and a lot of fun and very freeing. And then from there, I got into poetry, and from doing a lot of poetry and stuff, I got into painting. And I've done like all the things that you could probably do, with varying degrees of success to where I'm not homeless. So
Okay.
There you go.
that's what we all could hope for,
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
And as far as a lot like the books not having a budget, I mean, ultimately, a lot of people, tend to forget about, books and movies. While they are both forms of entertainment, they are definitely different mediums.
Yeah.
With the book, it can be as detailed as you want, it can be as long as you want. But with a movie, you're on a budget, and so therefore, because of that, a lot of things like
the thing I had to do more than anything when making movies was cut things out of a script. Like that was like my job basically. So then I got to the point where I'm like, well, if I just write really minimal, I won't have to cut anything out. And then like we could just get straight to shooting and I don't have to worry about this. So then it just like I watched Rope and Lifeboat 100 times and I'm like, okay, how do I shoot like a movie with one room and no special effects? Like
there you go.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of special effects, I actually know Matt because I've been very vocal here on YouTube that my dream project is I would even call it John Carter remake because that movie by Disney doesn't exist. I've been very vocal about that, and I knew, he's one of the very few that actually has reviewed the entire series on YouTube. But because I've been pitching to people, I think you would agree with me. It's basically Star Wars meets Lord of the Rings, but on Mars.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, especially when you say the Lord of the Rings stuff, just because of how time moves and how like after the first 3 books, it's like a completely different world, but it's the same world. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like,
well,
and I go back and forth with like what are my favorite ones, because sometimes it's like Chessmen of Mars is my favorite book. Like I go like that's
Oh yeah,
always the one that I come back to. But like it just depends. Like you like Synthetic Men of Mars has its own charm, and
yes, and uh, I chess. You know, I mean, especially if you read some of the later ones. Now there's some of them. It's like, okay, this is definitely the 1930s.
yeah, for real, for real.
But then, like, I think then like there's some of them. It's like some of the later ones. It's like, wow, you're reading The Matrix.
Yeah. Well, like I feel like too, one of the reasons why the estate's pushing so hard to have like new writers come in and write things is because it's problematic as fuck. Like a lot of I mean, you got to understand the time it was written in, but like there is such a huge like colonizer like mentality with a lot of Burroughs' stuff, because like the Pellucidar books are like my absolute favorite. Like I love that. Like if I could do like a big open world MMO video game on Pellucidar, like oh my god, that would like that would just be like oh.
For those who don't know, Edgar Rice Burroughs, Pellucidar is basically like his journey to the center of the earth, where he's like inside the hollow earth, and that's where like Eric, that's when you have Tarzan in some of the later books where Tarzan fought dinosaurs, and
That sounds awesome.
and he fights them King Kong style. It's like Tarzan, like
the Mahars in it are insane. Like they have like some of the greatest like villains. Like I just
yes, like Edgar Rice Burroughs. Here's my thing with him. It's like there is a studio out there. If you can just find a studio that's willing to, like what Disney did with Marvel, maybe better. Edgar Rice Burroughs is the original Marvel.
Yeah.
Because his entire series takes place. Stan Lee, I'm pretty sure Stan Lee was inspired in some ways by John Carter, because everybody was.
Yeah, for real.
And I mean, so like,
well, I mean, just think about Superman, because like Superman, when he first started, couldn't fly. No, he just could like really jump. Like
that's John Carter.
Yeah.
I mean, but my thing is, with so like at some point, I would love to, that it would be cool to see, like, and when they, since Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated is having other writers come in and write it, where they could maybe have eventually like the Justice League or the Avengers for Edgar Rice Burroughs,
For real.
I mean, have Tarzan.
I mean, what was that movie? I mean, it was based on the graphic novels, but like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
Like something even like that. Like you can do it. Like not. I mean, I would rather them make the books well, but I mean. Like, oh man.
And somebody, a lot of people could argue, well, a lot of the stuff that you guys are talking is in the public domain now, but it's like, well, good luck. There's, I don't know, there's the loopholes with that.
Yeah, some of them are in the public domain, not all of them. The titles aren't in the public domain, but the characters are. Like, there's all that weird stuff. Because, like, did you watch the movie The Asylum did when John Carter came out? They did.
I mean, I know I said the Disney one doesn't exist, but that one's like your weird cousin that you really want to ignore.
Yeah, it's like if you think the Disney one is bad, hold my beer.
I mean, for those who don't know, that one, they probably literally got props from not even a Spirit Halloween store, like Bob's Halloween store.
Yeah. But like they were allowed to use a Princess of Mars as a title, but I don't think they were allowed to use like John Carter or Barsoom in any of the
promotion
marketing material. Yeah, it's like there's so many weird rules about.
And then one of the ones that people even say with like Carson Napier. It's just a John Carter ripoff. Well, not really. Carson Napier is a very funny character.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you kind of look at it, Edgar Rice Burroughs might have stolen that from a rival author too.
That was just the Otis Albert Klein, right?
Yes.
But because he did that because he thought the Barsoom books were so easy, anyone could do them, and all this other stuff. And then Edgar Rice Burroughs was like, "Now you hold my beer. Let me show you how to do it." Yeah.
And then he, I mean, so yeah, but I mean, because I really believe that, if, I mean, with Star Wars, being a little lackluster now,
Mm-hmm.
luckily, from what I've seen, Skeleton Crew is pretty good. I think John Carter's like the answer, and you could go back to those stories, because, I mean, I think there was a guy who wrote the book, the Gods of Hollywood, who broke down John Carter and what happened. You could probably do a decent John Carter movie, as he said, for $50 million. And, basically you need a smart filmmaker to at least do the special effects. I mean, yeah, the Tharks are going to be interesting with 4 arms and everything. I mean, look at I'm pretty sure people are going to understand, we can't find 8-legged horses, so you might have to use actual horses, but I mean, I think there's ways around it to make it, and you read these books. I mean, and first of all, let me just say the original title that Edgar Rice Burroughs had is so much better, Under the Moons of Mars.
Yeah, for real.
Versus The Princess of Mars.
Well, what do you think about if they were to do a animated series of it?
I mean,
do you feel better with that?
They could. I mean, considering that, Eric, here's some interesting movie trivia for you.
Okay.
Bob Clampett, the creator of Bugs Bunny and a lot of the classic Looney Tunes cartoons, was going to do an adaptation of The Princess of Mars in 1936. And if that would have been the case, it would have beaten Snow White.
Oh, wow.
And if you see his pitch reel, it's like it was painted with watercolor at that time.
That thing, dude. Yeah, I remember that. I saw was that in a documentary? What was that on?
I don't know. I think it was at a con or something in the 80s, where he talks about it. And man, if you look at the paintwork as a guy who's actually painted stuff, you could sit there and say that would have been beautiful back in the 1930s,
Oh.
It especially painted in watercolor, that would have been so different, especially for anything back then. And even with John Carter, it's not just, people say, oh, but it's too much like Star Wars. It's too much like Superman. And I'm like, yeah, but it's something so different and so original, really. That we've never seen anything like this on screen, really. An alien world on Mars, really. I mean,
you should get into ChatGPT and say, I want a amazing action-packed sizzle reel of chapter 1 of Princess of Mars, or just whatever, and say, I want this actor in it, and I want this, and I want, instead of 8-legged horses, I want 10-legged horses, and do the whole thing just to see what comes out.
Yeah.
Well, I actually think the perfect actor to play John Carter. And the great thing is, since he was canceled, he'll be a lot cheaper than he would have been when I thought of him.
Who?
Armie Hammer.
Oh, okay.
I can see it.
Well, because he needs to John Carter needs to have that classic Hollywood Western, Clark Gable look. And Armie Hammer definitely has that Clark Gable look, but then he has that tough. I could see he has the tallness of John Wayne. So you kind of, and I think he would be absolutely perfect. And then as for Princess Deja Thoris, I mean, her acting, she's only done a couple movies, but I like her dad. So Sistine Stallone.
Oh, okay.
I mean, so, but, and, you know, even though this guy, I'm trying to get him to read the books, but, you know, just getting, so unfortunately, you know, Eric, just getting you to read sometimes is difficult because of.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I have ADHD, and so for me to sit through an entire book takes a lot of effort. So because of that, for me, it's just a lot easier if I just use an audiobook.
But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think this guy actually would be a pretty good to direct John Carter, and you know, I'm working on it from what I've heard and everything. I think it has gone back to the Edgar Rice Burroughs estate. So,
Oh, okay.
so
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I think just with how the science of Mars works in the books, that like John Carter should maybe be like a total twerpy little tiny dude who like obviously can't do anything on Earth, but on Mars he's like this like rock star superhero. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like, because like what is the logic behind it? How do they say it? Because like you're closer to the sun, or the gravity on Mars isn't as
it's
strong.
basically the reverse of Superman. You
Yeah.
know, it's how Superman has the powers on Earth is because he, you know, Krypton is so far away from the sun. It's like
Yeah.
Mars is. It's the reverse of Superman. It's like it's fantasy world. So like
Yeah.
it's and then if you kind of and then if you Edgar Rice Burroughs is really interesting too because you go back and he might have ripped off Gulliver of Mars.
Oh yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's like I don't think anyone had actually read Gulliver of Mars back then, so he's fine.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
yeah, and plus, I mean, let's face it. I mean, Gulliver of Mars. I mean, no disrespect to
it's
Gulliver of
not
Mars,
it's not that great. Yeah.
no, no, Eric. Ed, he was not exactly the best descriptive guy. He literally like wrote like I think there's a scene where he writes there's a panther on Mars, and so but he's meaning it to be an alien, but your mind is going to sit there and think that oh there's a panther, not an alien, you know, or something.
Right.
And then he also might have even been inspired by another book, Journey to Mars too.
Mhm.
You know, so but
It
Edgar
was
Rice Burroughs just did it better because he was inspired by, and there needs to be even a documentary about Edgar Rice Burroughs too, because you know, this guy could tell you how inspiring he is. Edgar Rice Burroughs is inspired. I mean, he failed at multiple businesses,
yeah.
and I think he was a pencil sharpener salesman or repairman or something like that.
He was working at some kind of stationery place, and this was like him, like I don't want to say he was like on the verge of like doing the thing, but it was like this was his last hope, and he
Yeah,
thought like I'm going to put all my eggs in this basket. And I think he wrote it while he was working at the place.
right. Because he failed at multiple businesses, and he
Mhm.
was reading the pulps back in the day. Which, by the way, you know, that's something we need to find somebody to bring actually the pulps back because those some of those stories are just amazing, you know.
Oh yeah.
And but he was on the verge, you know. I think I don't know want to say bankruptcy or like
Yeah.
we said, you know, but you know he was failed at multiple businesses, and then he read the pulps and like, oh, I can do this, and he didn't even use his real name. He literally called himself. He originally wanted to be Normal Bean as his pen name,
I
but
think
then
that's what he put, and then the magazine
type put
effed up, thought that he meant Norman.
yes,
Yeah.
and so and then he started this empire, you know, with Tarzan, John Carter, at the Earth's core, uh, Carson Napier. I mean, and then you even read some of his books that aren't in this series. Like he was actually a fairly like just very good, fast-paced author. But no, I mean, this guy's inspiring. Even you know has that inspiring story too. You know, Eric, you know, man, we're going to be redundant on the podcast, but you know, whatever. Talk about your $56 moment, right?
Yeah, so so I have loved film for practically my entire life. I tried once before for more reasons than one, it failed, and then I figured, well, I'm in Montana, and I guess Montana's just not the best place for that. And I figured, well, I also like paleontology, so I figured, I can give that a shot, as my fallback. I
Mhm.
went and I was pursuing that in college, but then I took mineralogy in college and I wasn't doing that very well at it. And, but yeah, my romantic relationship at that time was falling apart. I was working at Albertsons. And yeah, and one day Albertsons cut my hours significantly, so much so where my last paycheck was only $56. And I tried telling them, look, I can't survive off of this.
Yeah.
And they said, well, sorry, but we're not going to give you more hours until you've been here for 15 years. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I was so stunned and baffled that they said that. And then I had to call my friends, begging for them to help.
Yeah.
And go figure, I went searching for a new job after that because, nobody wants to work at a job like that.
No.
And so, yeah, and I wasn't very happy at that time. And then afterwards, I met a friend of mine who worked on the Jurassic World movies, and I had no idea that she even did until sometime later. She was honest, and she was like, "Eric, you would be a lot better at filmmaking than you would be at paleontology." It was hard to. It definitely was really, really hard to hear that, but eventually over time, I realized that she was right, especially coming from her. And then, I realized you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well should go take a chance at doing what you love.
Yeah.
And so, I and then decided paleontology would just be a hobby of mine. And I gave filmmaking another shot. And I'm not trying to boast. I feel proud of myself. I was in two commercials. I was in a music video. I was in all these horror movies. And then recently I decided that I'm going to take it to the next level. And now I'm going to go move to Atlanta.
Nice.
So yeah. And so ultimately, you know, what I hope that people can learn from my story, second chances absolutely can happen.
Yeah. 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 For real.
Yeah, I
Wait,
mean,
you're in Montana now?
Yes,
Okay.
but I'm planning to be gone. I'm planning to be in Atlanta by August. The reason for August is that me and my family are going on a trip to New York City the month before, and that has been planned for a while now. And I
Yeah.
don't want to be rude, and I don't want to just bail on my family. So
Oh, yeah. I get
well,
you.
and well, it's just like I'm pretty sure, starting out in music, everything people told you that there's no future and all this other stuff that you didn't.
Oh, yeah. Like people have been telling me there's no future in things since I was a kid. Um, I wanted to go to film school out of high school, and my parents were like, "Oh, you can't get work in that," because like we only lived like a half hour from Hollywood, but that half hour should have been like or could have been like weeks away. Like
Mm-hmm.
a half hour out of Hollywood for my family was like that's too far of a dream for you. Like you can't.
Right.
And I don't know. It's just like I think the people who succeed the most are the ones who are stupid enough to keep failing and keep going, like not knowing, like, oh shit, I fucked up. Maybe I should give up. It's more like, oh shit, that didn't work. But maybe if I were to do it like this, everything would be okay,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Oh,
And yeah, the only way you succeed is to fail like numerous times.
I mean, hey, at least the sequel trilogy did have one good advice. Sometimes failure is our greatest teacher.
Yeah.
it is absolutely yes,
Uh,
and
I mean,
and that's probably the only good thing about the sequels.
they stole that. Like they didn't coin that, but yeah, like that's some good shit though,
Yeah,
for real.
but
oh, it is, and yeah, and I can testify from my own experience that is absolutely true. It's because I failed at filmmaking the first time, failed at paleontology, and then ultimately after all those failures that I had, it's the reason why that I'm at
Yeah.
where where I'm at. And, and Voc Rehab has been helping to cover for my college. And they had no issue paying for it when I was pursuing paleontology because I'm in Montana. But they
Mhm.
took issue. Uh, but they took issue once when I switched to filmmaking because I'm in Montana. And originally they were trying to get me back to the 9 to 5 job, but I refused to give in. And then it was afterwards when I got to have a fight scene in a country music video.
Okay.
And then eventually me and Vogue Rehab came to a compromise where they said, okay, we will pay for any filmmaking course that you want if you move to a bigger film hub. And so yeah.
Nice.
And with Hollywood, multitude of reasons not really being the movie capital of the world anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta kind of has become, thanks to Ted Turner.
Mm-hmm.
But and even Texas has become huge with
Yep,
filmmaking.
that has.
I mean, even where movies originally began in America, back at the time of John Carter, with Thomas Edison, movies originally began in New Jersey, and so even New Jersey now has a higher tax incentive than California to make movies there now. I
Yeah.
think it's like 35%. So
There's no real tax incentive to do anything here. It's just that this is where everybody lives, so it's more convenient for them to just do it here. And I think that's what, like, the powers that be in California are banking on. But like, I mean, for years and years, people have been going out of state to shoot things, and even
oh
going
yeah,
to Canada to shoot things, and it hasn't hurt enough yet for them to change anything. But I don't know. I think this last like couple years, it's been really bad. Like, just like people who like I've worked with who are in the industry right now, like a lot of people who I've worked with for years finally gave up and moved back home to wherever the hell they're from,
mm-hmm.
because there just isn't enough work.
Well, see,
Um, yeah.
I've basically broke it down to people. What's going on right now in Hollywood is the same thing that was happening before Star Wars in the 70s,
Uh-huh.
in a weird kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
And then Star Wars came out and saved Hollywood. And I've actually said that I actually think that John Carter is that thing that could
Yeah.
actually save Hollywood. Like, you get that right studio to invest in John Carter. Say, listen, you do this, treat it like the Pulps and treat it like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Use the blue screen. And yeah, you can do the digital effects to make it better, but like,
From
dude,
what I've heard, like this is like, and I'm not trying to like crap on anyone's dreams here or anything like that, because like I would love to see it too. But from when I was like talking to people and pitching around and trying to get people interested in it who work in the business, everyone said no one's going to touch that with a 10-foot pole because of how the Disney film bombed. And like, so the only thing I could think of to make anyone studio wise want to touch John Carter is to have another one of his properties, because Tarzan didn't even like become a huge hit like they thought were hoping it was gonna be.
well,
But it's something else of John or of Edgar Rice Burroughs to go off and like be successful, and then come back to John Carter once that taste is washed out of their mouth.
so like maybe, I mean, if Tarzan didn't even do well, then maybe At the Earth's Core could be the answer. Because that's, I don't know if I don't know if people, Carson Napier would be more of a.
I was talking to this one guy who was really interested in doing, what do you call it, the Lamb That Time Forgot, like the trilogy, because he had fond memories of that when he was growing up, seeing it like on the really cheesy one they did that was kind of fun.
At least it's better than that Asylum version.
Right. But he was really like interested in that. And he's like, if you could get the rights for that, you let me know and we'll be talking. But that was like the thing he was really into. So I mean, and I'm not saying like it's impossible, because like all you need is one person to believe in it. But the other thing about this business is that people hear shit and people talk. So if one person goes, "Ooh, that's poison," everyone will be like, "Oh, that's poison. Where'd you hear that?" Well, I don't know. Like somebody over here said
Well,
it.
it doesn't help the fact that John Carter is the biggest Hollywood bomb of all time. Now,
Mhm.
it's probably going to be beaten by a certain movie that was Disney's first animated movie that they're remaking. I think I'm making myself clear on what I've heard, that movie might bomb pretty bad.
Mhm.
Maybe, maybe not. And you know, now that we've said this, that could be why that we haven't gotten a Jaws movie ever since Jaws the Revenge. It's because of Jaws the Revenge. I mean, it's not very well regarded. It has terrible reviews. It's regarded as one of the worst movies ever made. It
Yeah.
didn't do that very well financially, and
Well,
so that's probably why that they never did a Jaws 5.
I I think the reason, well, if they were going to do another Jaws movie, they would do a remake, because Hollywood is fucking remake crazy.
yes.
And I don't think Steven Spielberg will allow there to be a Jaws remake, like while he's alive. You know what I'm saying?
I hope at least he has at least the Zemeckis saying the Zemeckis stamp, like, hey, you can't remake this or do
Yeah.
any more. Like, I hope that Spielberg,
Because there's tons of awesome
so.
shark movies. You know, like they could totally do Jaws good now, like, and make the shark look amazing. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But
I mean, and hopefully better than Meg,
oh God, yeah.
which an amazing book, an amazing book.
Hmm. I'm trying to remember how many of them I read.
There's Meg, The Trench, Hell's Aquarium,
Did I read all of them?
Primal Waters.
I really dug them, and then they started to get a bit weird. Like not
Yes,
weird, but
yes.
just like bad. I'm just like, ugh.
Well,
But
yes,
they were
that's
fun.
Steve Alton. You know, and I I don't want to say like why I think he's gotten bad as an author, because he's had some health issues, but it's like, you know, it's like, because some of the books, like, they focused on the annoying daughter character. It's like, Eric, this is like if let's just say that they made later Jurassic Park movies, and then they focused on the girl from the Lost World as the main character. You know what I mean? Like, they made her the main character.
Which was somebody who was way, way too small of a character, like somebody who didn't make enough of an impact.
Well, he really tried to make her an impact in the books, but it's just like he made her a stereotypical annoying teenager. And like, imagine in a Friday the 13th movie, as for the final girl, they made it where the most annoying character was the final girl, and then they made it where now she's the face of the franchise.
That wouldn't go over well.
No. But no, I mean, so I mean, it makes me even wonder if, you know, the way to maybe have it or something, you know, to promote John Carter then is you've got to find that right, you know, you got to find that right investor that would just privately fund it, you know, because,
or maybe honestly not do John Carter and start with like book 4 or book 5 and try to like go that route, and then go, hey, we could do prequels are fun, right?
Yeah.
And then do the John Carter bit then.
or you could do At the Earth's Core, because that one could be start with Pellucidar.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, seriously, like when I think about making like an MMO off of that thing, I just keep picturing like the sun is a stationary thing in the center of the screen, and everything's like this big round thing. And I mean, I know like the way the earth is shaped, you wouldn't really be able to feel that the curvature, but in my head, like I see it like that. I'm like, oh my god, this is like Halo on crack. Like this is
Yes.
oh my god, I get so excited about it.
Well, and then I know they're making a video game of John Carter. I haven't heard any updates on that.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything about that.
I don't know how I feel about the video game, because I'm not going to sit there and call some creative mind's idea. All I'll say is it's interesting, and we all know what that means, because I'm trying to be nice here. But it's set in World War II, which, okay, fine. But he meets Ian Fleming, John Carter.
Oh my god, I remember hearing about this. I don't know if this is ever going to happen. This is like old. Like,
yeah,
they've been talking about this for a long time.
And then I know they're doing a radio show with Sean Patrick Flannery as the voice of John Carter, and then I think one of the girls from Killers of the Flower Moon, not the main one, but one of the girls as Deja Thoris, and then I don't know, but I think because what Marvel, what Disney and Warner Brothers is doing with the the cinematic universe, that is Paramount or MGM's answer to a cinematic universe. Burroughs, it is. And like we even said, imagine the video games you could do too. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like Edgar Rice, I don't even think Edgar Rice Burroughs has really even had much of a stamp on video games, really, because
when I was talking to the head of the estate about it, there is somebody who has the video game rights, and they just haven't done anything with them yet. But they have them for a certain amount of time. But again, this was like a year and a half ago. Like whenever I was talking to him when we were talking about it originally, you know what I'm saying? Like however long ago that was. But because I talked to him too about doing a Pellucidar game. And he's like, well, the rights for any video, it was like video game. And there were like 3 other things that were included in video game as far as like the rights go.
Yes.
But nothing has happened. So,
because I don't even think, they probably made a few Tarzan video games, but like nothing as far as like, John Carter is perfect for a video game.
Oh, definitely, yes.
Like
100%.
Like, you're how cool would it be to have like a Skyrim level game on Mars, but set in the John Carter universe? That just writes itself, And
oh, definitely.
Come on, and everybody and their mother is going to want to play as a Tharg. We want to play as a 4-armed Spartan-like character.
I want to be Gek.
Yeah,
that's all I want. I just want to like jump inside people's necks and run around in people's bodies.
Yes, Edgar Rice Burroughs. If you read some of the later books, it's like either he was having fun, or he was probably smoking some really good stuff back in the 1920s.
Oh my gosh, yeah, so good.
But but the Edgar Rice Burroughs books. And I even thought of the best slogan for the John Carter. If they ever do John Carter, done with Dune, bring on Barsoom.
Do you know how the Dune game did with Funcom?
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard it came out or anything.
But I love.
I haven't heard anything either.
I love the new Dune movies. So
yeah, I haven't. Yeah, as far as Funcom goes, the Conan game they have is Conan Exiles. That was the last like new MMO thing I ever played, and I absolutely loved that game. And like playing, like thinking of like Edgar Rice Burroughs in that world, like in that kind of gameplay, just like I don't know. Like I think there's more of a market to do a video game franchise, because if you could make a video game franchise that doesn't do anything weird, that doesn't add anything to it, that doesn't like try to cross into this with this other thing, just do like like with like Ian Fleming, like there's no reason on earth that that's a good idea. But like, I mean,
Yes.
I'm sure it's a good idea, like on paper, but like it does not do anything for anybody.
And plus, as writers, we can all admit it. Okay, as writers, we've all attempted to write some stuff.
Mhm.
And then some of it's like, okay, this is best to stay in my head and no one else should see it.
I mean, I get it in the sense that if you were to go try to get money to put a project together and you were saying, hey, I want to do this video game about John Carter. And they're like, I don't, meh. Okay, now I have this idea. John Carter meets James Bond. And then it's like, because like you might not know like John Carter, but you know James Bond. And if you can like figure out a way to like intertwine them as like similar characters, it's like James Bond on Mars, but he's like Superman. And then like you get people salivating about dumb shit that they don't understand, and they give you money. It's like,
yes,
it's a very cynical bullshit way of doing something.
I wish,
but that's what you got to do sometimes.
Definitely, yeah.
I almost think that maybe I wish we had producers like the Soul Kinds again, because nobody believed in Superman.
Yeah,
and until Elia Solkind said Superman, and his father then got the rights to Superman, and it partnered with Warner Brothers. You almost need something like that for John Carter. So we almost just need to find some like rich like billionaire tycoon, to sit there and say, sure,
Yeah, just go to Elon Musk and go, hey, Elon, John Carter is like you, but you're on Earth, and John Carter's on Mars where you want to go.
So, Matt, maybe you and me just need to go on Shark Tank and pitch it, right?
Yeah.
Shit. I think pitching the video game first to get enough interest to then do the movie would probably be like the way to do it. I know the taste out of the mouth.
I mean, I know a video game designer here in Kansas. He worked on BioShock and Legacy of Kain and Halo.
Nice.
Yeah. If he worked on Halo, he already knows how to do the center of the world thing. Like just have.
Yeah. Well, I think he designed the creatures.
It's okay.
But yeah, no.
Same process. It's okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's so. Eric, I just hope we've sold you a little bit on Edgar Rice Burroughs, because
Oh, hey, it is totally fine. I mean,
I hope we've sold you on it, because like this guy, believe me, yeah, let's face it, he can admit it that his movies are pretty amateur right now. But I think that this guy, who knows, this guy could be the new George Lucas. So, or Spielberg.
Yeah. Well, heck, I mean, everybody has to start from somewhere. And I mean, even a lot of the big time people, even they have said, yeah, I had to start somewhere. And even their first movies were pretty amateur too. But hey, it's all about learning from your experiences.
Well, you look at like Steven Spielberg's first short, Amblin, that he did. That's not it's okay.
Now they say that, now it makes sense that there was that movie company named that. Now that makes perfect sense now.
And you look at some of his I mean, they're all for free on YouTube, because the rights issue with students' films are weird. It's like, does the college own it? Does the director own it? Who owns it? So they're for free on YouTube. You can watch some of Spielberg's and George Lucas's short films. Like, the only one that really did have talent, obviously, I think, was George, which hence why he made, Star Wars and THX and became what he did. But no, I mean, you just, this is one of the reasons why, like I say, I've been trying to just really fight for it, because I mean, you could go, I mean, Pellucidar, there's stuff you could do with that. I mean, it might even have to be, you might have to start out with Pellucidar for the because Iron Man, think about it with Iron Man. Iron Man's the first of this MCU.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe cult people who knew about Marvel knew about Iron Man, but not a lot of people knew about Iron Man before that. I mean, Eric, you were kind of a comic book kid, but did you really know who Iron Man was before the movie?
Nope. I also had no idea who Thor was. I had no idea who Guardians of the Galaxy were. I had no idea who Scarlet Witch was. I had no idea who Doctor Strange was. I had no idea who a lot of these characters were. And and that really goes to show that sometimes you do need to take risks in life, because if you don't know what it is that you can miss.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
So, and there's, and Edgar, even the documentary about Edgar Rice Burroughs could be the thing too, because that guy led such an interesting life. Started his own town in California, ironically naming it Tarzana, California. And he was not happy with the Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan movies, so then he financed his own Tarzan movies. Which
oh yeah,
I love the Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan movies. First of all, Johnny Weissmuller, I don't know if he was necessarily the best choice for Tarzan, but he was definitely the most athletic. Being a swimmer, because you need being a swimmer, and I'll tell you who I think would be the perfect Tarzan now. Ironically, because I said that Deja Thora should be Stallone's daughter, but Joseph Benea, that's Arnold's. There's no easy way around saying this. Arnold's love child. But you look at him now, like he looks like Tarzan.
I can see it. Yeah, I really.
Who's the mom? Who's the mom of that kid?
The maid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you remember a few years ago? Yeah, Arnold's love child. There's no easy way around saying that. For those who in the chat are going to sit there now accuse me of what are you going to call him? I don't know what else to call him. But no, he's trying to form his own path now as an actor. But there's so much you could do. What? I guess why don't you talk a little bit about your films? What
okay.
So.
Yeah, I basically would make a movie for a producer who had money to make a movie right away, and I would make a movie for them that I didn't really want to make, but just something to make, so I could get enough money to make a couple movies that I wanted to make that I could shoot really, really cheap.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that when you start showing people that you are the guy who could get things done on time, that you could get things done cheaper than everybody else, that you could crank a script out in 3 days, that you could shoot a movie in a week or a weekend or whatever, and that you could do post-production yourself or do the music yourself and do all this stuff, and they're going to save so much money hiring you. They're going to keep hiring you, but each time they're going to try to get you at a lower rate. I have a movie for you to make, but because they would wait until 2 days before the first, where they knew I would have to pay rent, and they would be like, hey, can you do this movie? I know I offered you $5,000 last time, but now I can only offer you 4. Can you do it? And then it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And I was working a ton, but it got to the point where the last movie I worked on, it was I had to write the script, produce the film, direct the film, edit the movie, and handle all the deliverables. And so it was going to end up being probably a month and a half's amount of work. And they were only going to give me I think $800 after everything was said and done. And so if you break that down into an hourly wage, like that's ridiculous, you know?
Yeah.
And it's just like I've made 60 features and you're gonna try to like get me on the hook for like $800. Like it's just you get taken advantage of. And if you don't have like an advocate like going out there and like fighting for you to get these jobs and stuff like that and get paid well, you really do get taken advantage of. And the problem is like if you are a working filmmaker, you take whatever work you can. And like me, I had a family to feed, you know what I'm saying? So like I was taking any job I could get and trying to make it something that I would want. But producers, some of them are fucking shifty motherfuckers, and like they see you like able to work because you have a family and you're doing this, like they go, oh, I could really take advantage of that and really like sink into this. And so it got to the point where I was either going to have a heart attack out of stress or murder a fucking producer. And like my agent right now is going to be super pissed that I said that on a podcast. So that's fine. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I just hope that you're not going to get in too much trouble.
No. I'm just joking. I've said that like 100 times, but she keeps telling me that. She's like, "Don't."
It's okay. It's okay. Here, it's gone now.
Oh, no. But
matter of fact, what were we talking about again?
Exactly. He even remembers. But like I got back into it recently. Like the last feature I made was a kids movie in 2014 called Ghost Goggles. And that was like a bigger like studio project that I had ever worked on. And I worked on it because they said like my kid could be a part of it and do all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, cool. I don't have to get like a babysitter. I could like have my kid on set and my kid could like do stuff in the movie. That's cool. And then I couldn't do it anymore because it was just like every other set I'd been on. Like it doesn't matter what level you're at, it's the same politics and the same crap. And for somebody who just wants to like make art and like create something awesome, you know, when you have all this other crap, it makes it not fun. And so when I started writing books, that's when it was like, oh, like I'm having fun again. Look at me. Like no one's telling me what to do. But I just recently started getting back into film, and I did a bunch of shorts, which is weird because I never really made shorts before. I went straight from music videos really to features. So making shorts was a lot of fun. And there's been a couple projects that I'm working on here and there, but I have a feature that I want to do if I could find the right cast. And I've been trying to cast this for, I don't know, like 6 or 8 months. And I just have not found anybody that I really want to work with.
So there, Eric, here's your next acting part.
Okay. Yeah.
Is there anywhere where people can watch your films? Like, are you on Tubi, Amazon?
I know there's some movies on Amazon, I think. One of the things that has been going on the last year and a half is I've been trying to get the rights back to some of my movies because a lot of the movies I made went to a couple different distributors. Since that has happened, those distributors have gone out of business or have been bought by other distributors. And then the ones that got bought, or the ones who did the buying, they have gone out of business. So there's some of my movies that we think are in public domain now, like just because like there was no chain of custody or whatever. But my lawyer's trying to figure all that out. And we went to court over the summer actually and got the rights back to a good amount of the films. And it was one of those things where the film studio or the distributor who owned the rights to it now had like 90 days to file an appeal if they wanted to file an appeal, which I don't understand why the hell they would, because they haven't done shit with these movies. They've been sitting in a vault, and they filed an appeal, and now like we're back to square one. And I don't have the money to keep fighting this. So I'm at the point now where I'm like, I'd rather just make shit that I want to make. Because that's the other thing too. Like a producer who's been trying to get, who's a good guy, who's trying to get me back into like doing features and stuff, is like really pushing me hard to make this new movie that I've been wanting to make. And I'm like, well, like I want it to be perfect this time, you know. I'm not trying to be a dick, but I want it to be amazing. And he's like, just don't be such a bitch, just make the movie. And I'm like, bro, I've made a shit ton of movies. I know I could do it. The bloom has fallen off the rose. I want to make something now that I'm going to be remembered for. If I'm going to spend the time and the heartache and the just like blood, sweat, and tears to make a film, like I want it to be good. Because I've made a lot of entertaining films, but I don't think I've made like a great film. But I've made a shit ton of films. So it's like, for me, it's like, okay, I've done all of it, but like I want something that is like amazing, like where like if you hear my name you think of that movie like as soon as you say my name, kind of thing, you know. And I don't have that right now.
Yeah.
So there are some things on Amazon, to get back to your original question, depending on where you live. If you are in Thailand, China, Estonia, Brazil, or there's some other Eastern European country, a bunch of my movies are available. But if you are in America, there's only like 2 or 3 that are available, and I think they're all on Amazon.
Well, I always like to ask people this, but when you win one, what's your speech?
Like, I'm gonna need a lot of lube to pass those elbows. That's it. That's the speech.
All right. Well, hey, short, sweet, simple, and
short to the point. But
point, yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe. Well, I guess, you know, maybe
a lot of the movies that I made like would not be able to be shown now anyway, and that's one of the reasons why they're not out, because like it's just like, if I was making those movies that I made 10-15 years ago today, I would be canceled. Like they were like really edgy, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you couldn't do that. And that's why it's so frustrating that a lot of the distributors won't let go of them if they're not even putting them out. But at the same time, like most of the time, like Finger Bang was one of my movies, and I think that's the one that's on Amazon, but now it's called Not Another Superhero Movie. Like they changed the name, they changed the artwork, they changed everything.
With Drake Bell?
No.
Okay, because there's a movie called,
I know there's a movie that has a similar title. That's why they called it that. But yeah. So, or maybe it's called Another Superhero Movie. I don't know what the fuck it's called. They changed the name of it. I don't know. Oh,
well, who knows? Maybe if the next movie though, you get remembered for it, maybe, and then you win one. That's when you can make John.
I'm not trying to be weird, but like, I want to make a movie that's amazing for me. Like, I kind of don't give a shit if I ever won an award, because like I won best use of nudity at the 2011 Polygrind Film Festival. You know, like that was an award I won. Cool, I won an award. I just want to fucking make a movie now. Like I don't give a shit about awards anymore.
Yeah,
let's make something fun.
I mean, I guess that's kind of an accomplishment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
no one else won it that year.
Yeah, exactly. Because ultimately, you really should do it because you love it. But at the same time, you know, I like to receive an award for it. Like it's just like that's the cherry on top of the
awards are fun. I'm not gonna like, but see, here's the thing. A lot of times, like especially with the Oscars, certain movies win awards, and people know that. So they're like most women go, oh shit, I have to get famous being beautiful, so then I can make a movie where I'm ugly, so I could win an Oscar, because I'm not going to win an Oscar being beautiful. So I got it, but I can't get famous unless I'm beautiful. So I got to get beautiful, be in a bunch of movies, so I get offered a role where I could like down my looks and look ugly, and then I'll win an Oscar. It's like the politics behind like awards are so unbelievable. Like, I'm not trying to talk shit, but like Return of the King won the Oscar. Everyone knew that was not the movie that he should have won the Oscar for. Like Gladiator, Russell Crowe won for Gladiator when he should have won for A Beautiful Mind, but they gave it to him for Gladiator because they felt bad for snubbing him the year before or whatever. It's like the whole thing's a joke. Like I would love it to not be a joke, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just being too cynical now.
I mean, I think Jim Carrey said it best after we met Will Slap. Hollywood's not the cool club anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you know
that's what he said, yeah.
And you know, look at Jim Carrey even now, who this guy has an amazing story about Jim Carrey. I mean, people have called this guy the next Jim Carrey. And so, but you know, look at Jim Carrey now, kind of speaking up against the industry now, really, you know. And I mean, and this is not like a bashing Hollywood, you know, no, podcast or anything. It's all just natural conversation. It's where the conversation leads. So
yeah,
you know?
and also, and honestly, we're just honestly saying what he said. And so don't get mad at us.
Don't get angry in the comments.
No one's hating Hollywood. I live here. You know, it's not like I like hate this place and hate the thing. I just like, as someone who was taken advantage of, who was in a situation where I needed money, and so I was taking any work I could get, it kind of sucked. Mm-hmm. But there's other people who it doesn't suck for, and so that's great.
Yeah. So, but you know, Eric.
Yeah, the story about Jim Carrey. Yeah, I kind of figured that you were going to be asking me about that. And yeah, and honestly, the whole thing about you can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well should take a chance of doing what you love. I honestly heard that from Jim. And, you know, and sometimes we need to hear that quote at just the right time in your life. And that definitely was one of them for me. And yeah, I've been a huge fan of Jim for practically my entire life. I actually was the one throughout my entire life, like, who would make everybody at school laugh. And the reason for that, like, was because, you know, how much I loved Jim Carrey throughout my entire life. And I just thought that he was one of the funniest people ever. And so it was my lifelong dream to get in contact with Jim Carrey. And then my friend who worked on Jurassic World happened to have met him once. And then, you know, I was telling her about how I wanted to get a hold of him. And then she was like, well, I happen to have met him once. And so I will reach out to Jim for you. And yeah, and I'll see what I can do. Hopefully my webcam.
He broke. Oh, look, he's breaking the illusion.
Oh my gosh.
The illusion's ruined. I'm so sorry. But Jim sent me that. It made me extremely happy. And yeah, and then that was one of the things like that honestly was what got me like to put my name out there and for me to go pursue filmmaking. So yeah, and you know, and then the rest is history.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I mean, so what are some in your films, you know, do you work with any of the some big names or what, you know, or no?
Well, like mainly big cult names. So like, and this is a name that you don't want to say a bunch right now, I guess, but like Ron Jeremy was in a bunch of my movies. Lloyd Kaufman from Trauma.
Nice.
Trent Haga. Let's see who else.
I mean, if we get canceled for mentioning some Ron Jeremy, it's like, well, hey,
no, like I don't mean it like that. I just mean like it was a different world not that long ago, you know.
Exactly. Well, you know, and
plus, was, yeah.
And you know, hey, you know what? I mean,
you have to make ends meet somehow.
Or whatever happened, you know, if anything happened, we weren't there. We don't know what happened. I mean, plus proven guilty. So
yeah. But yeah, so like just a lot of like B-movie horror people. I did some other stuff on other things with like Michael Gross and that girl from 90210, Gabrielle Contreras, the chick from Clueless. I don't know, just like names like that you would get in like your like
Right.
Mark Lifetime type movies.
Did you?
But yeah, so that's basically it. Like,
Nice.
So, yeah, I mean, well, do you? I guess do you want to talk? Do you want to talk a little bit about the project that you're talking a little, that you're kind of mentioning earlier that you want to be known for, or just
yeah, okay. It's well, like I have this thing now where unless you're doing like science fiction or fantasy or something like that, if you're just making a movie, everything has been done, and everything, like any child could pick up a camera and make a movie that looks good. Anyone with a computer can make something that looks good. So I want to try to do the opposite of that, and just completely deconstruct film altogether to like the lowest common denominator, and just kind of see how that goes. Like, I won't go too much further into it than that. That's like what the premise of the whole idea is. But then there's some other like things I've been talking with certain smaller studios about doing certain remakes that aren't Edgar Rice Burroughs related, sadly, but that are more like film remakes. And so some of those would be really cool. But again, I don't want to say what those are because then, whatever. But there are certain movies that are the rights are available out there that anybody could go get, and we're trying to get them. If we could get them, we might do something with them. If we don't get them, we obviously won't. But like
Right.
that's
so basically you're wanting to make your Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey,
yes, exactly.
which we've actually, not to talk about other interviews we've did on while we're interviewing someone, but we've interviewed a few guys from that series. We've even interviewed the guy who played Mickey Mouse in the Mickey Mouse horror movie. So
Yep, we have, yeah.
And
yeah, I never once ever expected once that there ever would be a Winnie the Pooh horror movie, but that's thanks to the public domain.
well, one character that is going public domain. I mean, I'll plug this a little bit. We've become friends with Nikolai Leon, the guy who played Christopher Robin in the Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, and he, the Shadow goes public domain.
Nice.
And I'm in like a few years, and I'm like, because can you just imagine a new version of the Shadow? Because you could really do something good with the Shadow. Now,
Oh, definitely, yeah.
and I actually, yes, I thought of Nikolai Leon to play the Shadow, because this guy, his Ukrainian British accent, a mixture of that accent would it really works well for the Shadow. He sent me a few recordings, and it's really good, and it's just a matter of finding that right script for the Shadow, because like what there's so much you can do with that character,
Oh, definitely, yeah. And when does the Shadow go PD? Is that next year?
2027.
Which is the same year when the Lugosi Carl.
Well, it's weird with the Shadow. It might be 2026, but that would be the radio version, and then the pulp version goes public domain next year. So it's like you might as well just wait till 2027, because that's when you can get, the shadow, not, who knows where evil lurks? The Shadow knows. That was a terrible impression, but
well, hey, I mean, it's a
You did okay.
I'm not Orson Welles, so But no, it would be that version that goes public domain in 1930. Then you might as well just wait a year. But I guess, what are your thoughts about that? The public domain horror movies that are coming out of of kids' cartoons, basically.
I personally don't watch really anything anymore because I'm very unimpressed with how a lot of things are made.
Yeah.
But so usually what I do is like I wait around until like people who I kind of trust their opinion are like, oh yeah, you'd like this, you'd like this. But like I don't know, like I'm not trying to be shitty about it or anything like that, but like I want to be a creator more than I want to be a consumer.
Right.
And when I've been let down so many times, and like I always call it like the third actitis, but it's usually because like everyone knows how to tell a story, everyone knows how to start a story, everyone knows what a beginning is.
Right.
But and people usually do it in a way that is similar to everything else, so everyone understands what's happening, so everyone's on the same page. But when you get to the end of a movie or an end of a story, somebody fucks it up, and it's either a thing where there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and so they do this like big convoluted fucking thing that's all over the place and doesn't make any sense, or it's just I don't know, kind of lackluster. So I just realized I had seen so many things that I like was unimpressed by. I just stopped watching new stuff.
Right.
It's like
Well,
there's movies out there that I think are amazing and great, and I could watch those and I'm like, wow, that's just a great fucking movie. And I'll just keep like I'd rather watch a movie I've seen before that's really good than watch something that's just like really subpar.
well, I'm even somebody who's even, I mean, as somebody, I kind of get where you're coming from, because as somebody who, as who applied to be the chairman of the Walt Disney Company, and in 2020 when Bob Iger was leaving the first time, and then once you kind of hear I the politics of movies, and I'm not, Eric, I'm not trying to discuss politics on your channel, on the YouTube channel, because we're talking controversial topics, but it's like once you kind of know the how the system works, it makes you like you still love movies, but sometimes it's like you don't have that. For me, at least, and I think for a lot of other people, you don't have that drive to go out there and see a movie. Now, if your dad or something or a family member like say, "Hey, let's go see a movie," it's like, okay, cool, but you don't have that. For me, at least, that drive to go. When you were a teenager or in your 20s, you don't have that.
Well, we didn't have what we have now then. Like
Right.
when movie theaters were created when people could not watch movies.
Right.
And movie theaters were only created to try to like go, hey, we could make a play and it could play everywhere at the same time. That's amazing. Look at this great new technology we have. So you keep moving about technology and doing all this stuff. And then our home theaters have gotten so good, but like the movie theaters for the most part haven't really excelled, haven't done anything. I mean, yes, there's IMAX, that's great, but like there needs to be a more immersive experience all over.
I actually, Douglas Trumbull, said something very interesting. Basically with movies now, IMAX is dead. We need to basically move away from IMAX. And I would love to see some guy attempt to make CinemaScope screens a thing again. Because for those who don't know, CinemaScope screens were these 30-foot movie theater screens, and they had a curved screen. And there was also even Cinerama, with the huge curved screen. If we went to something like that, because I saw a movie, you can watch this actually on Tubi. It's The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm. Now, the movie it's okay. but they shot it in what they called zoom in screen, where basically it's widescreen, but they have the CinemaScope like style where it's like curved, and it creates this like unique experience. I'm like, man, if you get, I think.
But
Really,
you just said that you watched it on Tubi, so it can't be that
well,
crazy. Like, because if
right, but
something that you can't see at home, that you can't watch on your phone, like in order to make a movie theater worth a damn again, like there needs to be higher stakes.
You need to have that guy like the Walt Disney or George Lucas that pushes the technology of movies further to make them better.
Well, they have, but the problem is once the studios were cut out of the movie theater, because they used to have a monopoly, like movie studios owned their own movie theater chains,
right?
And then they cut that out for monopoly purposes, so now they don't give a shit like if they're making things good for the movie theaters anymore. They just like their job is to make things that people consume and buy however they buy. So I don't know. Like I think you need to have the movie theaters. Like I don't know. I don't know why I'm telling the movie theaters what to do. This is their damn job. But like, just make an immersive experience that makes people want to leave their damn houses to not watch a movie on a phone.
And now they say that, I actually just thought about this. That could maybe be one of the reasons why the Avatar was a huge hit. It's because it was a movie that you needed to see in 3D just to be, more entrenched into the like that world, and ultimately you really only can do that at the theater, and you really can't do that on your phone. So I think that could be one of the reasons why that it was as
I can't remember what theater chain it is, but there is a theater chain that tries to do, because like at Disney, like at like California Adventure and stuff, they have the like, I don't know if they still have it, but flying over California or soaring over California. And when you go over the orange groves, like a smell of oranges hit you in the face, and it's like you have all of these senses. And when we go to the movie theaters, we just have sight and sound. But like we need to go back to some William Castle shit, like electrocuting motherfuckers with chairs, like
Cinemark, a local theater here. It's called Cinemark. There's even one. It's like B&B theaters. They have it where like you sit in these chairs and it's like, roll like it's like you're on a roller coaster through the movie.
That's awesome.
I'm like, if you can do something like that, like create those gimmicks again,
Yeah, for real.
I mean, like, Disney can't own the patent. I would assume they can't on 4D, like what we were talking about with the like what they have during their shows. Where you spray water on yourself.
Yeah, totally. Same thing. Yeah, for real.
Like something like that, and like. I don't know what you would call it, like they could come up with some marketing executive could come up with
now they mention it. I believe it was for either House of Wax with Vincent Price or it was House of Haunted Hill with Vincent Price. When they had showings of like one of those movies, they would have like skeletons or whichever, like come down like to the audience.
I think it was Haunted Hill.
It was Haunted Hill. But like with the Tingler, they had like electric seats. So like not every seat, but every other seat would like buzz when the Tingler would come out. And there's this one part in the movie where Vincent Price turns and looks at the camera and he's like, the Tingler's in the movie theater, run, everybody be careful, look out, or like whatever like that. And then it's like zzz, and like people start screaming in the theater.
Even if you re-release the Tingler, because in theaters, like you could do that, again, like, and there's so much you could do to create that immersion. I mean, I think even one of the Spy Kids movies, they had where they said this is shot in 4D.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the third Spy Kids movie.
No, I think this is the fourth one because they said it was shot in 4D.
Oh,
and in the movie they used, well, I guess you could call it smell-o-vision.
Awesome. Because
I think I heard about that.
Polyester, the John Waters movie, when you went and saw that, it came with a scratch and sniff card. And like when a number would flash on the screen, like you would look at what number on your card and then scratch it and smell it, and it would smell like whatever they were smelling on the movie. And it's kind of silly, but like something like that, you know?
Right. I mean, well, because, Walt Disney, he, look up the history of Fantasia if you want to really know what we're talking about. Because, like, Fantasia, he really wanted to be like an orchestra, So, in hindsight, if you really think about it, Walt Disney was the father of surround sound.
Yeah.
And, then, Walt Disney pushed that technology further to make the movies better. And a lot of stuff that we look at now, Walt was the father of. And then we had George push the technology further to make enhance the movies and everything. And, we just need somebody like that again to, like we say, to get people to get off their phones. Like ironically, like us just sitting there talking movies and on our phone.
But the irony, huh?
It's okay. I'm not on my phone. Or am I? Or it's just a phone. But
it's all a big conspiracy.
So, but you need something. Like I agree. Bring back the William Castles. Like whatever happened to those guys? And like, because and plus, like I think a lot of William Castle movies are even in the public domain. So it's like, why, go release them and find somebody to recreate that technology.
I don't know if you remember, but like there was that company called Dark Castle.
Yeah.
They were like, their whole thing was to remake William Castle movies. And they did. I love their House on Haunted Hill. I thought that was great.
That was pretty good.
Was like,
it
was okay. Yeah.
That's the one from the 90s.
Yeah.
The House on Haunted Hill, if you saw that one. Ironically, that where that was filmed was in a college in England, and it's actually a sister college to a college where I'm at in my hometown in Kansas.
Nice.
So, and I guess the other thing that once you kind of realize that we talked about it earlier about New Jersey being the original movie capital of entertainment, you kind of realize that basically a lot of the suits in the industry have kind of become like the Motion Picture Patent Association. With Thomas Edison, when he was fighting against Carl Laemmle and everybody, you kind of realize that and everything, and it's like, I think. And Eric, look at the independent market right now. I mean,
yeah,
Terrifier 3 beat Joker 2 at the box office.
That's impressive. I mean, considering that Joker 2 had a budget of $200 million, Terrifier had a budget of like around like 3 million, 4 million, around there, 2 million, somewhere around there. But yeah, I mean, knowing that Terrifier 2 had the budget that's significantly lower. Okay. 3 million. Oh, okay.
No, Terrifier 3.
I was close, yeah. And so knowing that it beat Joker 2 with that big of a budget, that's impressive. And so that right there goes to show that, unfortunately, I hear some people who will say, it's an independent film. No one will ever see it. That's so not true. I mean, time and time again has shown
that has so been true since forever. Like Halloween, Phantasm.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Star Wars was technically considered an independent film.
Yeah.
I mean, so I say it really just depends